Staffworks welcomes you to 2023 and wishes you a happy new year. We will continue making videos on various topics, development, and political and other issues. If it's your first time here, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, watch the various videos that you have done, share, like, and leave a comment. In today's video, we will dissect the speech that was made by Paul Kagame in his delivery of a New Year message. In his televised speech, Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, seemed to be saying that they have heard it, they have said it umpteenth times, that they were not supporting M23. In that speech, he seemed to be telling the world that they have said it many times that they were not part of M23, but the world was not listening. Most of the 40-minute speech focused on DRC. This is a move away from previous years where the president mainly addresses internal issues. He used the speech to address the relations with the large neighbor DRC and to some extent Burundi. His first part of the speech was more of taking stock of his achievement and challenges that the people of Rwanda had overcome in 2022. He talked of a successful launch of the second phase of the Economic Recovery Fund to continue supporting businesses and the economy. He announced that the economy had recovered and was growing strong, especially in the third quarter of the year. He also mentioned the successful hosting of the Commonwealth meeting, among other important events that were held in 2022. He reminded the citizens that 2023 will be 1 year away from completing the 7-year government program, the National Strategy for Transformation. He recognized that all these were achieved due to security and stability that the country had enjoyed in that year. He added that the good progress that had been made and more needed to be done, but it will require discipline, consistency, concerted effort if the future targets were to be met and on time. So that's what the only part of the speech there where you talked about the internal issues. The rest of the speech focused on the relations with the DRC. He started by recognizing that the country is strong due to the unity and hard work of the citizens. He added that the new challenges had risen, and these challenges require attention, particularly in the neighborhood, especially or specifically in the DRC. Kagame said that 2023 should be the year of peace and security in the region, and development gains can only be achieved if there is peace and security. He called for a concerted effort where all in the region, especially the international partners, work together to implement the lasting solutions which had been evading for the last 25 years. He recognized the peace process which are ongoing both in Rwanda, Angola, and Nairobi, and appreciated the progress which had been made. And he reiterated that Rwanda will fully support the two processes. He also commended the intervention that has been made by the East African community, where the East African armed forces are now in Rwanda. Kenyan troops are in Rwanda, Ugandan troops, Burundi, and lately South Sudan. They have been they are there to restore peace and also perform other activities which are aimed at securing eastern part of DRC. Although he commended that effort, he was skeptical that the efforts might not bear fruit, especially if the international community did not play its part, especially in bringing peace in that region. He said, and I quote, "It is disappointing that the international community pays lip service to peace and actually ends up complicating matters, which undermines the regional process. After spending tens of billions of dollars on peacekeeping over the past 2 decades, the security situation in Eastern Congo is worse than ever. So from that quote, we see that Kagame is blaming the international community for the escalation of violence in the Eastern DRC. He says that they have spent a lot of money, but the peacekeeping process have not borne any fruits, and that's why although he commends the intervention that has been made by East African community, he wants that if action is not taken to resolve the conflict, the process might not bear fruits. He's categorical that Rwanda is being blamed for this violence that has escalated in this country unfairly, and he wants the unwarranted vilification of Rwanda to stop. He says that some in the international community blame Rwanda. He says that the Eastern Congo problems squarely lies with the government of DRC and the external factors or actors who have refused to address the root causes of the problem. Kagame seems to be saying that if the root cause of the problem is addressed, we are going to see what he terms as the root problem later. This problem can be resolved. He squarely blames it on DRC government inability to address the real issues and the lack of, international community has not been proactive in dealing with the problems that have made this conflict escalate. He termed it this blame of Rwanda on this conflict. He termed it as a very expensive lie, which makes no logic. External actors are afraid to displease the Congolese government and compromise their own interest, a move that has worked against the Congolese people, as their leaders have taken advantage of the softness of the actors to consolidate their populist base and in the process hurt their own people. So he squarely blames the two sides. That's the DRC government and the international community, which has failed to verify the DRC government, but instead they seem to be afraid of displeasing it because these governments have a lot of interest in DRC. He gives an example where the United Nations groups of experts documented the collaboration between the Congolese army and a militia group led by FDRL, a group that is blamed to have caused, to have participated actively in the genocide in Rwanda, 1994. And this group has continued to operate in Congo, in DRC, and the Congolese army have been using them to fight M23. Kinshasa has been blaming Rwanda for assisting M23 with the elite forces and equipment to attack the Congolese army bases in North Kivu. On the other hand, the Kigali government has been blaming DRC for integrating fighting units of the genocidal FDLR militia in the mainstream army. Rwanda has vehemently denied this, and in this statement that Kagame made during the New Year address, he seems to be telling the international community that they have been blamed unfairly, and Rwanda will not accept this. But in this statement, Kagame seems to justify Rwanda's involvement in DRC. So in some extent, he's on one part he's denying the involvement of Rwanda in DRC, but on the other hand, he's justifying why Rwanda need to be in DRC. And I quote one of the statements that brings out this clearly. Of course, we are directly affected when the remnants of the militia that committed genocide in Rwanda becomes auxiliary forces of DRC army and conduct attacks across our border. No country can accept this. Rwanda will never accept this as normal and will always respond appropriately because Our security and stability are paramount. We could not have learned better from our history. There are more than 100 armed groups flourishing in eastern DRC, including those that participated in Rwandan genocide. For example, the FDRL, LR. These groups create constant insecurity for civilians in DRC and in Rwanda. The reason this situation prevails is because DRC is unwilling or unable to govern its territory. Should Rwanda be the one to bear the dysfunction of this immense country? So in this statement, Kagame seems to justify why Rwanda acts or should act, because there are some forces which threaten the national security of Rwanda which are housed in eastern DRC, and Rwanda cannot sit comfortably as these forces flourish, and they are even used by the Congolese army to fight some of the forces, especially M23. So in this statement, Kagame seems to, in one part, he's denying involvement of Rwanda in, as he is blamed, and the other part is justifying why Rwanda may act, or why Rwanda acts at times. Kagame in his speech admits that Rwanda has suffered due to situation in the eastern DRC. Apart from providing safe haven for the militia which seek to destabilize Rwanda, the country has borne the burden of hosting refugees from DRC. I quote part of the statement that shows that Rwanda is suffering because of refugees. Rwanda is among, I quote, Rwanda is among the countries in East Africa which have hosted hundreds of thousands of Congolese refugees for decades. We have more than 70,000 registered in Rwanda alone, and new refugees continue to arrive even now. So from this part of the speech, Kagame is saying that Rwanda continues to bear the brunt for the problems in eastern DRC, the refugees, and also this part of DRC has been hosting militias whom, according to Kagame, can destabilize or have been trying to destabilize, and or even they participated actively in genocide in 1994. In his analysis, Kagame sees the DRC problem as mainly as a result of failure of the DRC government to deal with the problems, real problems. We have an international community that is being soft on DRC leaders, because this community have some interest in DRC, and they risk displeasing the DRC leaders. So they are not so hard on them because they have some other interest. Then Kagame talks of persecution of some groups in DRC, especially those that have some relations with people in Rwanda, or those who speak Kinyarwanda. Then there is the denial of Congolese refugees a right to nationalities. He calls this an international problem, one that requires an international solution, because unresolved political issues which cause these armed groups to keep coming up, and which underlie the hate speech that we keep seeing. Kagame says that Rwanda will not accept to bear the burden for the responsibility of, burden for the DRC responsibility. He calls for the Congolese refugees to be allowed to return home safely and in dignity, adding that Rwanda will not stop them from going home in any way they choose. He praises the effort by the Burundian government for the role that it's playing in facilitating the refugees from that country from returning home, adding that this is the right thing to do, as it shows that this problem can be resolved if the political will can be done. So here Kagame is showing that the problem in DRC can be resolved, especially the problem of refugees. He gives an example of the Burundi, which is currently helping or facilitating the return of Burundian refugees from Rwanda. So, and they cause it, if there's a political will, a solution can be found. So it's all political. He seems to be arguing that there's no political will in DRC to end this problem. He blames what he terms the African expert and policymakers who have peddled lies and created confusion about Rwanda and these regions. Remember, United Nations experts have blamed Rwanda for actively funding or participating in DRC through M23. They have been accused of so many other things. Although they have denied, the UN says that there is evidence that they have participated. They fund the militias, the M23 militias, and they bear responsibility of ending the conflict in DRC. But Kagame says that the problem lies with DRC because of its inability to deal with real problems, and also international community, which is not being hard enough on DRC government to solve this problem. He believes that with continued implementation of the decisions of the regional Rwanda and Nairobi processes, the issue of DRC can be addressed, and these two countries, being neighbors, can live side by side. So from this speech, we see that Kagame seems to be tired of being a scapegoat of the problems that DRC is experiencing. He also seems to in his analysis, he seems to explore what the real problem is, and the real problem he says is this inability of DRC government to deal with problems in its own territory. But what they do is that they blame Rwanda on the problems, something that they vehemently deny. And he praises the efforts which are being done to resolve the conflict. There's a Nairobi process, the Rwanda process. He says that if these processes are implemented, the problem in DRC can be resolved. He also commends the interventions of the East African community, where some forces have been sent to try and resolve these and from the reports which have been available, there has been some progress. M23 has withdrawn from some regions, and normalcy is returning in some part of northern Kivu, and that's the progress that is needed. So we'll keep watching to see how this progresses. Currently, DRC and Rwanda are in a diplomatic problems. We see what the response of president of DRC will be out of this speech which was made by the Rwandan president. So thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment on your thoughts about this conflict and how it can be solved. Like, share, and also watch other videos that you have done on various topics. So thank you for reaching this far. If you have not subscribed to this channel, I encourage you to do so.